That's right, guys. Before Wave 10 has even gone on pre-order and before we've heard anything about a Wave 11, we have the scoop on what to expect in Super Powers Wave 12 today on Just BSing. And for the first time ever, love it or hate it, we're getting a movie tie-in line, and this one will be tied in to the James Gunn Superman movie scheduled for release in July 2025. Now, if you follow us on Instagram, you've probably already seen these leaks, and you also know that the Super Powers line isn't the only McFarlane toy line getting a tie-in to the James Gunn Superman movie. So if you'd like to see all of those leaks, including some very cool DC Multiverse 7-inch inclusions that I think a lot of people will really like, please go check us out on Instagram at just_BSing. And before we get into these leaks, I have to lead with the disclaimer that, as always, these are not confirmed. But they are coming from the same source that has shared our last few sets of leaks, and so far they have been 100% accurate. So while not confirmed, we are pretty confident that this is what you will see in Super Powers Wave 12. And these leaks also do contain spoilers, so if you're someone trying to stay away from spoilers for the new Superman movie, this is your last chance to click off. Trust me, we will not be offended if you decide to do so now. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into these leaks. There are 5 figures to talk about, a new vehicle, and guys, for the first time in the McFarlane Super Powers line, a playset. And I know that's something a lot of us have been waiting for. We'll have to wait a little bit longer because that's the last thing that we're going to talk about in the video. We are going to go ahead and start with the figures. So we'll do that now, with the first one on the list being Metamorpho. And with a new Metamorpho sculpt most recently being released in Wave 8, which was not that long ago, you have to wonder if that will just be kind of a retooled Metamorpho from that initial sculpt, or if this will be a new sculpt of Metamorpho to kind of more tie into Anthony Carrigan's portrayal of him in the new Superman movie. Now, we don't have a lot to go on as far as what Metamorpho is going to look like in the movie. He has not been seen in any set photos or anything, I think largely because he will be mostly CGI. But we do have this one little piece of merchandise that we've seen floating around online that's a coffee mug that has a lot of the characters around it. And this is apparently kind of those official looks of those characters. So we can see a little bit of Metamorpho. He does look fairly comic accurate from what we can tell in this picture. The only thing is he may be wearing shorts, or possibly this is some type of a kilt or something like that. So a little bit of a change there that we'll have to see if that translates over to the figure itself. But still a pretty accurate Metamorpho, and I think one where you could pretty much take the original Metamorpho sculpt, maybe do a little bit of retooling, maybe a new head sculpt, hopefully a new head sculpt that looks a little bit more like Anthony Carrigan, and we will see what that ends up looking like. And the next figure on this list is Guy Gardner Green Lantern, and this one is probably going to be in the same boat as the Metamorpho, as we also saw in Wave 8 a new Guy Gardner sculpt. So I'm guessing that will probably be the base of this movie tie-in figure of Guy Gardner as well. But unlike Metamorpho, we have seen some set photos of the Guy Gardner Green Lantern from the James Gunn Superman movie. He's played by Nathan Fillion in the movie. And I know when these set photos first dropped, there were a lot of pretty unhappy people about the looks of the characters in the film. Now, obviously, these are set photos. There's no CGI around it. There's no movie magic around it. So it's hard to tell exactly what they'll look like, but this is a bit of a different look for Guy Gardner Green Lantern than we're used to, more of a white suit. But that said, that might actually pop really nicely in an action figure, and I could assume that the Guy Gardner Green Lantern that we've already gotten will be kind of repainted to match that. Again, we don't know if we're going to see any of the face sculpt redone to kind of more match the movie counterparts, but this could look fairly cool in that white scheme. Now, that's also assuming that the white outfit look is the kind of final look for Guy Gardner in the movie. He may get a more traditional costume toward the end of the movie or something like that. All of that, of course, remains to be seen. But this next figure will likely be a brand new sculpt, because this is a brand new character to the Super Powers line, and it will be Mr. Terrific, who is played by Eddie Gathegi in the James Gunn Superman movie. Now, from the set photos we've seen, the Mr. Terrific look in the movie is pretty bang on to the comics, so I think a lot of you will be pretty happy about this. I know Mr. Terrific was a most wanted, highly requested figure from so many of our viewers. So while this is a movie tie-in figure and is the first time we'll be seeing Mr. Terrific, I think based on his look in the movie, you guys should be able to still mix and match this with your comic-looking and Super Friends-looking counterparts in the Super Powers line that are already out. And I know I'm personally looking forward to this one greatly myself. I'm a big fan of Mr. Terrific. I love the look of the Mr. Terrific costume in the movie, and And we know that once they now have the sculpt for Mr. Terrific, they can always repaint it to be a more comic accurate looking Mr. Terrific if this one doesn't live up to those expectations that you guys were looking for in your Mr. Terrific Superpowers action figure. Now here's where we get into some of the movie spoilers, because the next figure on this list is Ultraman, and we have heard from some script leaks from months ago, seen in some set photos, that Ultraman was highly rumored, but we weren't sure what we were seeing was actually Ultraman. Looks like that is going to be the case, and this will be an Ultraman for the James Gunn Superman universe. Now, we won't get into the script spoilers or anything like that in this video. It was just a very different origin for that character, and from what we've seen in the set photos, a very different look than what we're used to. And Ultraman and other members of the crime syndicate were some of the most wanted figures on my personal list for the Superpowers line. So if this is based on the set photos, what James Gunn's Ultraman is going to look like in his final incarnation, we don't know if this is his final look, but if this is what it looks like, I'll probably be a bit disappointed. But this look is not bad for an action figure. In fact, if this is the final look for Ultraman in the movie, I can almost see this as being a retooled Vigilante action figure from the Peacemaker 3-pack. Very similar look. In fact, it looks a little bit more like Black Noir from the Boys universe than it does Ultraman. But again, could make a very cool action figure, and we do have to wait and see. This may not be the Ultraman final look that we see in the movie, and not what the action figure turns out to be. And I do hope that it has kind of a more classic look by the end of that movie. But let me know your thoughts on this one down in the comments below. Are you excited about an Ultraman if it looks like this version, or is it something that you're like, really would prefer an Ultraman come from the kind of more classic comic look before this? And the final figure listed on these leaks is, of course, Superman himself. So we don't know if this will be a previously used Superman model, either the original sculpt that we have all kind of grown tired of, or that brand new, nice, more Kenner style classic Superman sculpt that was just released in Wave 9. Not really sure which one will fit the David Cornsweet version of Superman better. So will this one be just kind of a retooled, repainted version of that, or will they do a brand new Superman sculpt, possibly a new head sculpt as well, to kind of match what David Cornsweet's Superman looks like? Now, while a lot of people weren't happy with that suit, and again, guys, you're taking a look at a lot of these are set photos, you know, promotional images aren't showing the final lighting and that kind of thing. We don't know exactly what it will look like in the movie, but we have a pretty good idea. While a lot of you were unhappy with that, it could still make a very cool looking Superpowers action figure. So color me kind of cautiously optimistic for this one. And of course, that's probably just me being a Superman fan and hoping for the best. There's that word, hope. We hope for the best for the Superman action figures. So cautiously optimistic that this one will look pretty cool. I do kind of like the new Superman symbol, kind of that Kingdom Come style. Not sure how it's going to translate to a movie tie-in in the Superpowers line. A lot of this, of course, remains to be seen. And I'm really, really hoping for all of these action figures that there is some kind of retooling done, that these aren't just straight repaints, so that at least maybe like a head sculpt or some texture on the costumes are added, things like that, especially for this Superman, that really ties it into that movie a little bit better. And now we have a vehicle that is listed, and it is called the T-Craft, and my guess is that this is going to be Mr. Terrific's ship, and based on a set photo we've seen, it does look like there will be some type of Mr. Terrific ship or vessel in this movie. Now, the set photo that we've seen is really just a facade that I am sure will be filled in with CGI later on during the post-production process. So I don't think this set photo accurately represents what Mr. Terrific's ship will look like, but I think we have a pretty good idea from the comics, at least some type of version of this T-Craft, what it will look like. We don't know which version it will be. Personally, I think it would be kind of cool if it was like one of Mr. Terrific's spheres, but in ship form, and that would make a pretty cool looking vehicle. So we will have to see if that is what it in fact turns out to look like. And now the one you guys have all been waiting for, the playset. And we have a Superman movie, we have a Superman figure, we have multiple Superman figures if you're talking about the entirety of the Superpowers line. Well, what makes more sense than including Superman's home? And so yes, we are getting a Fortress of Solitude. And I, for one, am stoked to finally be getting a Fortress of Solitude. It's one that I think a lot of us have really wanted, going back to the Kenner Super Powers days, where there were some rumors that it was going to come out. It was possibly made but never released. We've seen a lot of excellent concept art. Some even better customs have been done. But to have an officially licensed McFarlane Super Powers Fortress of Solitude is a fantastic inclusion. And I know a lot of us were kind of maybe hoping for the first playset to be something like a new Hall of Justice or a Hall of Doom for the first time. But if you saw Chris and I talking about our top 10 most wanted playsets in the Super Powers line, the Fortress was way up high on that list. I know it's been very high for a lot of you as well, so I think this is something that we are all going to be very happy with, provided it's not some kind of cheap cardboard diorama or something like that that McFarlane releases and is an actual very nice playset done in the style of the old school playsets like the Wayne Manor Batcave or the original Hall of Justice. I think we'll all be pretty happy with this one. Now, the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is that I don't really know, and none of us really know, what the Fortress of Solitude in the new Superman movie will look like. So we have all of these ideas in our head from past concept art, from the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, from the various iterations of the Fortress in the comics, what our perfect Fortress of Solitude will look like, but we don't know if that's how it will be depicted in the movie. So a lot of that remains to be seen. But frankly, I'm not sure I care too much. I am just really excited to be getting a playset, and I know a lot of you will be as well. And for the first playset to be the Fortress of Solitude, I think is just fantastic. So guys, let me know down in the comments what you're thinking about all of these leaks and this movie tie-in line for the Superpowers line. Really want to hear your thoughts, your concerns, your excitement over what you're seeing. How do you feel about the first playset being a movie tie-in Fortress of Solitude? I know some will be happy, some won't, but I definitely want to hear your comments and your thoughts down below. And are you one of those folks who are not as stoked about the Superpowers line going the movie tie-in route? I know there were some of you out there, I've talked to a few of you on Instagram and Facebook that say, you know, this is a retro line and I wanted it to stay a retro line. The original Superpowers line didn't have any of those movie tie-ins. And while yes, I partially agree with that, for me, I kind of feel like this could potentially be a good thing. I think you're potentially introducing the Superpowers line to a whole new audience through movie tie-ins. It maybe says something about the success of this line, that they are putting some trust in the Superpowers line to sell movie action figures. And also you think back to something like the Dark Knight collection that Kenner put out in tie-in with the Batman Tim Burton movies, and how successful those were and how well thought of those are and how so many of us are, you know, still looking to collect those. They used the Superpowers molds, and if Superpowers had still been around as a line at that time, I almost feel like those may have been branded Superpowers action figures as well. So I don't necessarily think of it as a bad thing. But let me know your comments down below. Definitely want to hear those. While you're down there, drop this video a like. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to go follow us on Instagram so you can see this full leaked list, including the very cool DC Multiverse 7-inch action figures that will be included. And speaking of DC Multiverse, I've added a whole lot of new DC Multiverse action figures to my collection, and we'll be talking more about those in future videos on Just BSing, so stick around for all of that, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.